So thank you so much, all of you, for being here with us tonight. To start, I would like to introduce myself, and then I will let my co-host introduce herself. So my name is Angel Carré, but you can call me Anga, and I am the co-creator of the AfriTech Fellowship, as well as a program coordinator for our flagship program, which is the AfriTech Fellowship. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Angel. I'm Selena. I'm a human capital consultant, and I'm an AfriTech fellow from the very first cohort that was launched in Mauritius. It's a pleasure, to be able to share this co-hosting with Angel as well on a very interesting topic this evening.
Thank you so much, Selena. So, welcome to all of you to this new episode of the AfriTech Connect, where discussions unfold to explore the forefront of spatial technology, project management, inclusive leadership, and wellness within the vibrant AfriTech community and beyond. So, I want to remind you that this AfriTech Connect is, as any of the AfriTech Connect episode, is a space for us all. So feel free to take as much space as you need. Today's core theme will be wellness, and the title for this episode is Humanizing Leadership, Wellness as a Core Leadership Skill. So to start this conversation, I would like to get your input as well. So I will put a picture on the screen now, and I would want you to tell me what words, feelings, or thoughts come to mind when you see those people. You can send it in the chat, and we will slowly look into it and answer later on. So just send in the chat what are the words, feelings, or thoughts that come to your mind when you see those different people. Maybe you don't know all of the people that are in the picture, but maybe there's one person that you know. Just tell us what are the words that come up. So we have diversity. Okay. We have greatness. Very interesting. You can put as much words or quotes that you want. Okay, we have power. That's nice. Change makers. Yeah. I think that's already a lot of word. Daring. Yeah, that's great words that we're having. Great characteristics indeed of those people seen here on the screen. Leaders. So yeah, as we were having this conversation tonight about leadership, leaders is a great word. Game changers. Good. And I would be glad to know what you, Selena, you think of those words that our guests tonight are telling us.
Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing the different words. Some of them are really powerful, and we see there are so many characteristics that actually form leaders, and leadership is such a topic that is always in vogue. It never goes out of fashion because everywhere in our era, in everything that we do, we are either meant to be leaders, or we are even meant to work with leaders, or we know leaders in our families, in our communities, in our workplace, in our places where we study. We're surrounded by leaders. So thank you so much, everyone, Lavinia, Patsa, Jenny, Said, everyone, for sharing about all those characteristics. Now, that is an interesting slide. So I just want to acknowledge everything that everyone shared, but I also wanted indeed to make a quick reflection on an example of a well-known leader, Nelson Mandela. And I know all of what you shared, from Lavinia, Jenny, Said, Patsa, from greatness, powerful, from a diverse leader, all these characteristics do reflect the leader that is on this picture, Nelson Mandela. But what's also very striking with Nelson Mandela is the fact that he spent 27 years of unbroken incarceration, which means he was 27 years suffering in prison. And the aspect of today, speaking about wellness, is to understand that even as leaders, you know, we may go through different phases in our lives because at the end of the day, we are human. As a human, humans as a human, we may also go through a prison in our lives. Just like Nelson Mandela went through a prison, and Anga has been sharing like the definition of a prison here. That is a building in which people are legally held as a punishment for a crime they have committed or while they are awaiting trial. But besides this, what we call a physical prison, could it be that we can also be in an emotional prison? And that is something, that is even more and more striking, because as leaders, we're always seen, with these amazing characteristics, someone who is powerful, someone who has to be visionary, someone who has to be strategic. Indeed, all these characteristics are very important. But how about that human side of change in a leader? And for that, can we be in emotional prisons? Can we be in a jail in our own mind? So the next question would be like, what are some of these emotional prisons that leaders can face nowadays that make them less human? Would be great to have like your input, in the chat, some of the answers in the chat.
While we are waiting for the answers in the chat, I would say that for me, an emotional prison sometimes can be fear, where you're so scared and it prevents you to do things. And sometimes it's things that you love and that you like so much. But this fear is just like this picture of your brain, which is in a jail. Like, it's literally what is happening here on this picture. It's something that is still going on and on in your head.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is like where, the stereotype has to be broken, because we're often sold this picture of a perfect leader. He has to be strong. He or she, must give, that amazing image of a leader, where everything is going well, where everything is going perfect. But how about the leader who is human? Because we get to understand that reliance on our strengths alone doesn't get us to progress, when we need to go through the toughest of challenges. As humans, we do struggles. And this is a totally normal experience, because at the end of the day, we may be a leader, we may be very successful in one field or in several fields, but we can still be our own jailer. We can still be feeling trapped, imprisoned by our behaviors, by our thoughts. We can be imprisoned, like you shared, Angel, by fears. We can be imprisoned by our past. So what happens is sometimes we imprison ourselves over time, over a long period of time, even, with a narrative of self-punishment. So the thing is that we want to be seen as strong as a leader in one field, but then that over part, we are very vulnerable. That one we don't want to face and address. So what happens is that there is a type of emotional entrapment that is subtle, and it builds up slowly with time. It's guided by the little things we fail to face and address as leaders, because tuning in and aligning with our core purpose as humans is a lifelong process. And the aspect of that brain on the picture in that jail, in that prison, speaks to each and every one of us today. To that, to myself, to everyone here on this call. What are the emotional prisons that we are going through, that perhaps we have been hiding? Some may be secret, some we are not even aware about them. And these are the different windows and lenses that we want like to reflect on through the different dimensions of leadership.
And we do have some very interesting answers in the chat, Selena, like Apatsa saying delay. Um, it does put you in some kind of pressure, like pressure, cultural boundaries, and how the fear is the basis of emotional prison. I think each one of us have what can be a prison to me might not be a prison to somebody else. And
Mm,
that's one thing that is very interesting to see, because it's different for each one of us, but the effect is the same, where it makes us stop and not do things. It stops us from acting. It stops us from doing more. And I think it's very interesting to see how different aspect of life can have the same effect on different people. And that's exactly what happens with this. And as you said, there's different dimensions of it to understand. And I think it's the same with wellness. When you have those different dimensions that you need to understand. And that's when you said about vulnerability. Vulnerability is when you accept that those prisons, those emotional prisons, are actually there, and that you need to take some time to deal with them and take some time to address them, which is something that only once you touch your vulnerability you get to do.
absolutely, absolutely, Angel. And it's true that our emotions, when we speak about vulnerability, we also speak about emotions. And our emotions are strong enough to either trap us in endless self-demeaning cycles, in limiting beliefs, or to free us from our circumstances, our situations. And this is why, like, that stereotype of the perfect leader is now fading to the leader who is vulnerable as well. He may be strong, he may be a leader of strength in some fields, but he's also vulnerable in other fields of his life. And this is why, like, the topic of today, what through wellness, is the fact that we want to navigate about the different dimensions that make us human as leaders. So we went like through a wheel through the 8 dimensions of wellness. And as you can see, like, we go through different aspects. Someone can be really strong at the intellectual level, but really poor at financial level. Someone can be really strong, can have a very fit body, but he may be actually struggling in his career, in his occupation. Someone can be very known, well known, like socially well known in the community or whatsoever. But that leader can also be struggling, on the emotional side of his life or in the environmental side of his life. And we understand that as humans, we can no longer function, in a one-sided direction, because leadership itself it's a multifaceted concept, and it can be understood through so many various dimensions. And each of these dimensions contribute to how a leader influences, guides, and inspires others. And they offer, in a way, a very comprehensive view of the styles, the behaviors, the effectiveness that we need as humans to understand, where am I standing at? I may be strong in one field, but I may be very vulnerable in another one. And being vulnerable is also to be able to speak heart to heart as a leader, from heart to our own hearts, but also to others about our vulnerabilities, but embracing them first of all, to understand how we can better manage those vulnerabilities, so that we don't stay stuck, you know as we understand that life is an ongoing growing journey, and we are growing. There are ups and downs, and it's totally normal to go through all these phases. It's because at the end of the day, each and every one of us deep inside, perhaps we are trying to break free from some emotional prisons, you know, like Nelson Mandela. He was 27 years, in very drastic conditions, in prison, in very, very demeaning, like, very, like, how would I say, in deep suffering, but his mind was not in a cage. His mind was free. So he was in a physical cage, but his mind was free. This is what helped him to become a leader who built resilience and who was able to go through his own acceptance, forgiveness, and to be able like to love himself and love others enough to become, you know, the first Black president in South Africa. So it takes us to this journey that leadership will actually always have seasons where we will struggle, where we will have challenges. But how about recurring challenges that are coming through each and every time? It could be our failing health, it could be our failing finances, it could be our failing environment, our failing careers, our failing, physical activities. So, and the question here is for each and everyone here to reflect, where are we struggling? And that is like one question that you may reflect. You may feel free like also to answer, for example, in the chat, but you may feel free also like to reflect. And even after like this discussion online, like to go and do, your little self-care wellness checklist and to understand, am I like very strong in one field, or perhaps I'm struggling, at the physical health mess or fitness levels. I may be struggling with certain emotions from family, couples, marriage, solitude, divorce, grief, with kids or any level, or maybe struggling perhaps at the social level to connect. Yes, I'm very socially known, but I may not be able to connect with people at a different level, or perhaps in my career, in my business, on what I do, on finances, or perhaps I may want to undergo, for some studies, but I feel like so ashamed, what will people think? So that is the question to all of us here, leaders. What are the dimensions where we feel that we may be struggling? So we'll give you like 30 seconds just to reflect on that side.
And feel free to share with us if there is an aspect of it that you think maybe you didn't know about, or maybe that you want to share with us that you're struggling in that side. Because I remember when I first saw this wheel of emotions, I was of wellness, sorry. I was like, wait a second, wellness is not just about what I eat or how physical I am. Wellness is actually multidimensional and has so many aspects to it. And right now it's at 8, but I know that this wheel of dimension keep increasing, because it used to be 4, then it became 5, and then it became 6, and now it's at 8. And I know for a fact that there's also wheels that have 9 dimensions, and I'm pretty sure that as we go in life, there's going to be more and more and more emotions, or aspect or dimension that will be added to it. And I think it's good, because each time an aspect or a dimension is added to that wheel, it makes us understand that us as individual, but also us as a society and a community, we do not stop at saying, okay, these are the dimension of wellness and that's it. We keep evolving, just as everybody around us will be evolving. Us too need to be able to think of, okay, so maybe today, if my physical dimension is low and my social dimension is high, that doesn't mean that I'm a very unhealthy. It just means that you need to reassociate where you're going to put your effort. So maybe you should take more time for yourself on your physical side. This doesn't mean that you should cut off completely your social side just because it's like blowing off and it's perfect. You all in everything, you need balance. And that's what the wellness wheel also shows us, is that, and in a perfect day, in a perfect way, the wheel will show that you have the same percentage all around. And as individual, as a human being, of course, it's not going to be possible every day. And that's okay. And that's something that the society wants us to believe, that it's not okay. Because to be leaders, all of it should be 100%. but in 100%, there's only 100. So you can only be a certain amount to tally to 100. You cannot be 100 everywhere, because then it will be 800%, which does not exist. So sometimes society puts up a, a level for us that is simply impossible to attain. And this wheel reminds us that it might be this today, but tomorrow it might be something else. And we just need to adapt and try to balance it, because all of this also makes you a better leader, because you know yourself first.
Mm.
And for me, I think personally, I've always been scared of looking at all the aspects of it. But once I've started doing it, I've realized that there are days where my social is better. There are days where my intellectual is better. And I'm okay with that. And I think everybody should be okay with that.
Very true. And as you were sharing also, that made me realize like some of the blocks also that happen, I'll just take for example in the local context, is that very often uh, as leaders, we are afraid of these different dimensions because we are afraid that they may be taken as points of weaknesses in our lives. Because what happens is that vulnerability is often mistaken for weakness. And this very self limiting belief actually traps people in a psychological way where, like, people, leaders, everyone starts to imprison themselves to avoid seeming weak. And embracing, those vulnerabilities and learning to work on them, not just embracing, but working on them, going through that level of self love, self acceptance is the way, where we heal, where we grow. And to understand that we are humans, to deal with the human side of change, goes through dealing with our vulnerabilities and breaking, those stereotypes where people tend to look at us as, oh, you're the perfect leader, you have the perfect life, you have a perfect family, you have perfect work, you have perfect everything. No, we fail and we fail forward as leaders, and it's totally okay. It's okay to fail forward. It's okay to feel vulnerable in one field. It's totally okay. And it does not undermine our capacity to be leaders just because a leader is going, for an emotional turmoil in one field. For a physical, for a social turmoil, for a career turmoil does not mean that, oh, that person is not good enough. No. And this is like the journey that we need to start embracing more and more, starting to normalize that as human beings. To have a growth mindset requires that we can actually embrace our vulnerabilities and work on them.
True. And thank you so much, Lavinia, for sharing with us. So I'm just going to read what Lavinia said. She said, I am now struggling as we speak in one or two areas, yet in my case, my mind is free as it doesn't come from a space of fear. I may not have the answers, but I give myself the space and being vulnerable to take actions, however, whenever, with as much clarity as possible. Failure is a stepping stone to success. Thank you so much, Lavinia, for those wise words. And I couldn't say it better. This is very, very true. And I know that sometimes we see people that we place them on a pedestal and we think that they are unreachable and that there is no way that this person is like has any problem in their life. Surely this person must be perfect. And this is something that we keep telling ourselves as if it was from ourselves. But this is something that, again, society made us believe that it was like this. And sometimes ourselves, we feel like we should be perfect all the time. And there is that one tip that I got from someone once. And for me, it is a tip that stuck with me because it made me realize that it's so true. That tip is, next time you meet someone who seems out of reach, because they appear so perfect, ask them about the biggest challenge they faced on their journey. And this tip has stayed with me in every aspect of my life. In every room I walk in, every time I come into a new community, every time I meet new people, I like learning about how they become who they are. And no, it's not the aspect of, oh, I want to know where you failed. It's not this aspect that I want to know. I just want to know this because then that person seems more human to me. And it's very true. I mean, when you go into a space where you see someone who seem to have it all figured out, they have a perfect life as you think, they have the perfect husband or spouse, they have the perfect children, they have the perfect um, car or the perfect life, the perfect house, everything perfect, and you are sure that this person just had the way open for them as they went through life. And that moment, you go to that person and you say, hello, I'm very happy to meet you. And I would love to know what were the challenges, some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your journey to become this person that you are today. And when that person tells you what they went through, suddenly the world seems endless, but at the same time, it seems so real. And this is something that, again, unfortunately, society wants you to believe is not true. They want you to make you believe that leaders are perfection. And maybe you're just saying, yeah, but I'm saying that. But we saw at the beginning of this call, when we told you to tell us what were the words that came to your mind when we show you those leaders. And most of the words that you used were mostly about how positive, how game changers, how they are great at what they do, how they came up with ideas to change the world. And these are all true, and they are all very linked to who those people are. Those people are known as leaders for a reason. But do we know everything about them? Do we know how they got to where they are? I mean, like Jenny said at the beginning with this quick reflection, Nelson Mandela was in prison for 27 years. This would have set back a lot of people, but it didn't stop him. Just like Oprah, she was refused so many times before she started her own talk show. And I'm pretty sure that all of these person that we saw at the beginning had those moments, those challenges that they faced. And this is something that unfortunately we don't ask them often. And I will invite you all to next time you meet someone that you look up to, take some time to learn how they became who they are. And I'm pretty sure this will make you love that person and look up to that person even more, because then that person will be human and that person will be real.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Angel. And I support what you share. And it's true that listening to others, listening to their stories, can actually be a way, where we supercharge our own leadership. And it helps us like to identify and to see things in a new perspective. And to give that boost, we must learn to identify our vulnerabilities and triggers. Then, and this is the leadership behavior we have to, where we get to understand, okay, others are also going, for struggles. And we can also learn from others for their struggles, their successes, their failing forward as well. And to learn how to manage those vulnerabilities and triggers more purposefully and productively. And Lavinia was sharing earlier, thank you for the comment. We acknowledge that as well, and we believe that everyone here, on earth, every leader, however strong they may be pictured, we are all struggling in certain areas, in certain dimensions of our lives. And it is totally okay. As far as we embrace those vulnerabilities, but we get to keep on educating ourselves to manage those vulnerabilities, but also to understand what are the triggers. Because at the end of the day, wellness involves being really aware of ourselves as whole people in a holistic way. So that includes a sense of balance, of comfort, but being kind to others, and first of all, being kind to ourselves. Loving others, but first of all, self-loving ourselves. So it's a sense that uh, we can actually say, hey, even though things are going well or not well for us today, but we can continue to go well for us. We're not giving up on ourselves. It's a sense where we can have like meaningful relationships and a sense of meaning and purpose, even if we have not yet reached that 100%, landmark in our life, in our milestones, but still, progressing, even in small ways consistently will lead us, to the milestones that we have to achieve in our leadership, and to understand that we may have setbacks, we may go through stress, we may experience, where situations where we feel so discouraged that we don't know how to get up. But if we look deep inside ourselves, in our inner man, inner woman, there's a child out there who's longing, to shine. Are we giving a safe space in ourselves to that child, to that inner child? Or are we still jailing ourselves in our own prison? Sometimes we tend even to think that others are putting us in a prison, but they are actually triggering something in our own prisons. So this is like a way also to reflect and to understand that as human beings, we are highly resilient. Nelson Mandela, after going 27 years, in prison, he had enough reasons to say, hey, I'm finished now. But that shows you the power of human beings, the power of our mind, of our consciousness, of our subconsciousness, and how it's important to also be part of communities that support and thrive one another, that help us in our journey of wellness. And there is also like a quote on wellness that I would like to share with you. Your well being affects and is affected by those waves through small ripples of self care and the decisions you make. Wellness is not the decision of others. Wellness is having our well being being affected, and it's affected also by those waves. But first of all, it's the decision we take, we make. The decision to embrace vulnerability, to manage this vulnerability, to educate ourselves, to take time for ourselves, to create a safe space for ourselves, starts with our own decision. Sometimes we tend to say, no, it's others. We may be in an environment that is unhealthy, that's true. But the power to take that decision of freeing our mind out of those circumstances, it starts with this. Because wellness is also about well-being and healing. And as leaders and as human beings on this earth, we still have a journey where we need to heal, to grow, so that we can inspire others even more in everything that we do. Because wellness encompasses a healthy body, sound mind, a tranquil spirit. It's a journey, and the key to wellness is to accept personal responsibility for your health, your well-being, and our decisions. So the code above for your wellness affects and is affected by those waves through small ripples of self-care, and the decisions you make is I accredited to Melissa Stegninus. But we can write our own wellness code. We can write, today after this call, we can actually write or journal, okay, what is that area in my wellness that is not working fine? And I embrace it. I love myself. And what is the decision that I'm ready or willing to take today? And in the long run, it's not a one-day miracle, no. Wellness is a lifelong journey. At each and every stages of our leadership journey, to inspire others, we need to also inspire ourselves in our wellness journey. So that is like the takeaway I want to leave with everyone here this evening. Over to you, Angel.
Thank you so much, Selena. And I think you're inspiring me right now. Maybe I should ask you to tell me what were your challenges, but I'll say that for another time. Um, in this At this time, I think I would actually love to hear from our guest. So if any of you would like to unmute yourself and tell us more about what you think of that discussion that we had tonight, how maybe what are the key takeaways that you're taking away from that discussion, what are the things that you've learned tonight that you didn't know, or things that empowered you to maybe take self care more seriously and take wellness and all of its dimensions more seriously. And you can either send it in the chat or you can unmute yourself. Remember, as I said at the beginning of this call, this space is for all of us. So take as much space as you want. So we have a message in the chat from Lavinia who said, we can only give what we have. If one wants to give out love, one can only give it if they have it. And that comes from loving yourself first with your flaws and your greatness. Thank you, Lavinia. That's so true. So any of you, if you have any last comments or anything that you would like to share with us, feel free. See, yeah. So Lavinia is telling us a quick exercise that you can do to yourself for yourself is writing yourself a love letter. I've done that a couple of times, and it's something that is really, really helpful because if there's one thing that we've learned also through the AfriTech Fellowship with Fellows is we are so good at writing our weaknesses, but when we need to write positive things or strength about ourselves is something very difficult. So take some time to tell yourself why you're proud of the person that you are. Maybe it's in a way, maybe you need to write a letter. Maybe you need to go in front of a mirror and tell yourself, well, you own it. You own what you are. You own who you are and all of your achievements. And those challenges that you faced in your past, well, they made you who you are. And maybe you're going to have more challenges up front, but well, you got that as well. And I think it's a good, that sentence from Lavinia said, you can only give what you have. So start by loving yourself.
Absolutely. I support that as well. That part of understanding that uh, we need to cultivate love and we need to cultivate kindness towards ourselves. It's just like our mind is our garden, our heart is a garden. So, what we sow in that garden is what is going to grow out of it. And sometimes we need to clean, our minds, our hearts from all the things, the thorns, the bad herbs that have been growing, the weeds and everything, and cultivate it. That's a challenge that is going to be with us for all lifelong. Let's cultivate our heart, let's cultivate our minds, let's cultivate our leadership, let's cultivate self-love and kindness to ourselves. Let's normalize this as an important daily process. As Angel shared, you go to the mirror, whether like Lavia said, whether you write a love letter to yourself or whether you decide that you're going to start with some positive one affirmation a day and increase, that like in a year you are going like to do to create a safe space for yourself, an hour a week, an hour a day, or like to meditate, whatever it be, let it be part of your garden that we actually cultivate and take care of every single day.
If anyone has something to say, any last comments or thinking thoughts? Oh, wow. Lavinia is telling you in front of the mirror. Let me read it. So yeah, in front of the mirror, if you reach the 100% freedom, then go for it naked. Ooh, yeah, that's another exercise that you should definitely do. I haven't done that. Maybe I should try this one. That's interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. And what's also like very striking is that when we go naked, we embrace our bodies, you
Mm,
know, our bodies, as they are, because we're sometimes like, even as leaders, we tend to think, of a leader, okay, that needs to look like this, in a physical way. But then, like, someone in a wheelchair can be
yeah,
a leader.
true.
Someone without hands, without feet, anyone can be a leader, irrespective of their physical appearance. But embracing our nakedness, and the word naked, as Lavinia shared, is so strong here, because embracing our nakedness. Do we embrace who we are when we're naked in front of that mirror?
Right.
Or are we
Mm-mm.
trying to find the flaws? Oh my God, I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like this. I don't like that. Like, because many times when we stand in front of a mirror, we see all the negative things, but we don't see all the beautiful things about ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
that also is a way of self-caring for ourselves. When we're looking at ourselves, okay, we see our vulnerabilities, but we embrace them. But there are also positive things about each and every one of us. At the end of the day, every human being here on earth is unique. Lavinia
Mm-hmm.
is unique. Jenny is unique. Said is unique. Melanie is unique. Jeshna is unique. Nayamath is unique. You, Angel, you are unique. I'm unique. So that is like, that makes a beautiful mosaic, in the picture of the world, to say, hey, as humans, we are unique, and we add our different little flavors to that canvas of a beautiful life journey.
Yeah. And yes, yeah, we are all unique. That one thing that brings us all to who we are is, and bring us together at the end of the day, is the fact that we are human. And this is something that I'm telling you, you should never forget. So next time when you're trying to say to yourself, "Oh, I'm not enough," or "I'm doing this," so I'm not. Why am I not doing enough? Well, tell yourself that you're human in your own way. You are human. Thank you so much, all of you. So we have a message on the chat saying from Side, thank you so much, who's saying, very insightful session, loved it. We are happy that you guys loved it. And if,
Thank you.
sorry, go ahead, Jenny.
Yeah, thank you so much. And the thing is also like, thank you, Said, thank you, Lavinia, thank you everyone actually for being here.
Taking the
Jennifer,
time.
Melanie, Jeshna, I meet again, everyone. The thing also is that we wanted also to share throughout the session is the reflection, you know, because we understand that there are like so many leadership trainings out there. We have been like for so many leadership trainings, and it's totally normal because we are evolving in our methodologies. But don't forget that part where we also need to reflect.
Mhm.
It's not just on the characteristics, the beautiful characteristics that a leader has, but what are, you know, the dimensions that we need to work on. So let this be, let's break our own stereotype, you know, after this call, let's break our own stereotypes, even if we have to cry about them, even if we have to write them, even if we have to go somewhere to like reflect and say, oh my word, all this time I was so good in that part, but I realize I'm like failing in a different way in that field, in that dimension. How can I like embrace that vulnerability, and how can I become better and still love myself despite those vulnerabilities? So that is like the part. Over to you, Angel. I know like this is such a passionate talk as well.
Yes, thank you so much, Selena. And I think I would not have been able to do this amazing discussion and without you. And thank you so much for accepting to be here with us and
You're
sharing
welcome.
this
It's a
space with
pleasure.
me.
It's an absolute
And
pleasure.
just to say like a quick fact before ending is, when I started discussing this with Selena, we were going on about it. We had so many goals about it, and we were so passionate about this discussion tonight. And I think all of our expectation was even overblown tonight by the way this discussion actually unfolded, because again it shows us how sometimes, even though we are so passionate about something that we are doing, our mind may create limitations. And here today, we saw that again, because we knew it was going to be a beautiful discussion. But I feel, and maybe you can correct me, Selena, but I feel like it's even better than what we expected or we hoped for it to be. And this is amazing. I'm very happy for that.
Very, very
Before
happy.
we close it, so yeah, any last word, Selena, before we say our goodbyes?
Um, don't forget, each and everyone here, that we love you, and don't forget to love yourself as you are. Even if you want to improve in any field, social, spiritual, intellectual, occupational, environmental, any dimension, any other dimension you want to improve in your life, don't forget, love yourself first as you are, because love actually helps to heal a lot of different situations. Self love is the very first, door that needs to be open in our life. Because if we don't love ourselves, we cannot work on ourselves. We cannot embrace our vulnerabilities. So let us take wellness also as a love journey, a journey of love in everything that we do, any field that we do, love as an open door to wellness, because we love ourselves. And Anya saying, if we don't love ourselves, if we can't give what we don't have. If we don't love ourselves, we cannot outpour love to others. And so I want to outpour love to you, Angel. I want to outpour love to
Thank
you,
you.
Lavinia, Jennifer, Said, Melanie, just Malanyut, everyone who's listening, every other one who's attending, this call this evening. Love, because wellness is not just about showing off. Wellness now, it's about loving ourselves so that we can better love others as well, and we
Thank you.
deserve it. You
Yes,
deserve
we
it,
do.
girl.
We do. We all deserve it. You
Oh,
deserve it
yes.
too. I'm pouring love into you too. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much,
I
Selena.
receive.
And thank you to all of you for joining us tonight for this amazing episode of the AfriTech Connect. And we hope that today's discussion was on humanizing leadership, what has been as interesting and inspiring to you all that it has been for us. And if you would like to watch all of the other sessions that we had of the AfriTech Connect before, I invite you to watch it on our YouTube channel. I've called the AfriTech Fellowship. And stay tuned on our social media platforms to learn more and join us for any upcoming empowering conversations that we might have on our different core themes. Until next time, keep innovating and embracing the spirit of exploration. Thank you so much, everyone. Goodbye.
You. Bye bye.